Rachel Morgan stood in her kitchen, staring out the window at the manicured lawn of her suburban home in Virginia. Everything looked perfect from the outside. The white fence, the trimmed hedges, the brick house with a porch swing Daniel installed himself. But perfection is often just a disguise for something deeper, something broken. Daniel, her husband of 8 years, sat at the breakfast table, scrolling through his emails on his tablet while sipping black coffee. He wore his signature suit and arrogance like a uniform. Always polished. Always certain. He believed he had Rachel all figured out. Believed she was content just being the wife of a man who provided everything. The house, the car, the lifestyle. But he never asked her what she needed. He assumed. And that assumption would cost him everything. "You'll need to pick up my dry cleaning today. They close at 5, he said without looking up. Rachel nodded, suppressing the urge to roll her eyes. "Sure. And don't forget to RSVP to the dinner at the firm this weekend. It's important." "Of course," she replied flatly. To anyone else, their interaction might seem normal, even mundane. But to Rachel, it felt like a slow suffocation. Daniel never noticed the small changes. How she stopped wearing the perfume he once complimented. How her smiles never reached her eyes anymore. He was too busy assuming everything was fine because he provided. But the truth was, Rachel was unraveling. It wasn't always like this. When they first met, Daniel was charming, attentive, passionate. But over time, his love morphed into control. He dictated where they went, what she wore, even which friends were worth keeping. His success became the centerpiece of their lives, and Rachel, she became part of the decor. Loneliness crept in, silent and slow. Then came the therapy. Rachel had suggested couples therapy once, but Daniel laughed it off. "Why do we need therapy? Everything's fine. You just need to stop overthinking." So, Rachel started therapy on her own. That's how she met Ethan Carter. Ethan was warm, patient, and perceptive. From the first session, he saw the parts of her that Daniel never bothered to explore. He didn't see her as a role. He saw her as a woman. And that was dangerously comforting. At first, their sessions were purely professional. Rachel would talk. Ethan would listen. She cried, she vented, she opened up in ways she hadn't done in years. And slowly, a connection formed. Not because he crossed a line, but because she needed someone to truly see her. The line was crossed months later. It was a rainy Thursday. Rachel had just finished a particularly emotional session. She lingered at the office feeling raw and exposed. Ethan offered her tea. They sat in silence for a while, the air heavy with something unspoken. "You don't deserve to feel invisible, Rachel," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know who I am anymore," she replied. "You're not alone. Not anymore." And then, as if pulled by a force neither of them could control, she leaned in. The kiss was soft at first, hesitant. But it deepened quickly, fueled by months of suppressed emotions. It didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like finally breathing after being underwater too long. After that night, everything changed. They didn't plan for it to become an affair. Rachel hated the idea of deception. But every time she tried to pull away, the ache returned. Ethan became her escape, her confidant, her lover. She justified it in whispers. "Daniel doesn't love the real me. He loves the idea of me. The perfect wife who stays quiet." But lies, no matter how carefully told, eventually crack. One evening, Daniel noticed Rachel's phone buzz and saw a message flash across the screen. "I miss you already." He didn't say anything. Not right away. Instead, he waited. He watched. He followed. A week later, Rachel walked into the house to find Daniel sitting on the couch, her phone in his hand. His face was unreadable. "Who's Ethan?" he asked calmly. Her heart dropped. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. "I've read everything, Rachel. The messages. The emails. The calendar invites." Silence filled the room like smoke. "You think I don't know anything, but I know more than you think." She looked at him, really looked, and saw something different. Not pain. Not heartbreak. Anger? Maybe. But mostly disbelief. He truly never thought she was capable of betrayal. In his mind, she was too obedient. Too grateful. "You don't know me, Daniel," she whispered. "You never did." He scoffed. You think that justifies cheating? No, she said softly. Nothing justifies it. But I won't apologize for finally feeling alive. Alive, he snapped. Is that what you call it? Yes. Because for years, I've been dying inside, pretending that your version of love was enough for me. But it wasn't. And I was too afraid to say it. He stood up, his hands clenched. So what now? You leave me for your therapist? I don't know what happens next, she admitted. But I know I can't keep living like this. He stormed out that night, leaving Rachel alone in the house that now felt too big, too quiet. She sat on the couch, hugging herself, shaking, not from regret, but from the weight of everything she had suppressed for years finally coming to light. The next day, Ethan called. He found out, she said. Are you okay? I don't know. But for the first time in a long time, I feel honest. Weeks passed. Daniel moved into a condo downtown. Divorce papers were filed without drama. Their shared circle whispered and speculated, but Rachel didn't care anymore. She stopped explaining herself. The truth was enough. She didn't jump into anything with Ethan. They gave it time, space, healing. A year later, Rachel stood in a sunlit studio where she had started painting again. Something Daniel once called a hobby for housewives. Her canvases were bold, colorful, messy. Like her life. Like her truth. Ethan visited often. Sometimes they sat in silence, sometimes they laughed for hours. There was no pressure, no roles to play. One afternoon, as they sipped coffee on the porch swing she had kept from the old house, Ethan looked at her and said, "You've changed." "I've just stopped pretending," she replied with a smile. And for the first time, she truly felt free. Because Daniel thought he knew everything. But he never knew her. And that made all the difference.